I'm here to tell you that you are all dancers, but some of you might not know it yet. Actually, I've always known I was a dancer. My mother even jokes that I've been dancing since I was in the womb. And I've been taking dance classes since I was 2.5 years old. After that, I continued performing, taking dance classes. I eventually danced professionally and taught dance. So in my memory, I always was a dancer. But I don't think it's that way for most people. As an educator, I do come across a lot of very young children who are clearly dancers. And you know they are, because they can't let a song pass without moving to the beat. And some of them continue on dancing, while others, at some point, are told to sit still, or that they look silly moving like that, and they eventually stop dancing. Fast forward to college, and some of those young children have now become my young adult students. I teach education majors. I teach future teachers. I'm their arts professor. I teach dance, drama, music, visual art as ways of thinking, inquiry, and expression in schools. However, many of my students come to my class thinking that they are not artistic, and they are most fearful of having to dance in class, and they don't identify as dancers. So, reflecting on this reality that I'm teaching people who are fearful of dance and that don't identify as dancers, let's clarify. What is dance? I define dance as purposeful sequences of movement and stillness that communicate meaning. So, for example, dance could be or it could be so, if dance can be defined as broadly as the more stereotypical dance sequence that I just performed and the more gestural pedestrian one, I would argue that my students could at least perform the more gestural one, and even more. But the reality is that dance can be defined even more broadly than that. And we all participate in it. We use it. We consume it on a daily basis because dance is all around us. Think about the media, the music industry, movies, shows, commercials. Think about the ways that we move in our social media. Facebook videos, Snapchat, Instagram, Boomerang. So, actually just think about how we perform purposeful sequences of movement and stillness in our daily lives. For example, our morning routines. Think of how we actually gesture when we communicate. So let me back up just a second. What is a dancer? Using my definition, dancers are those who perform purposeful sequences of movement and stillness that communicate meaning. Some of the characteristics and actions of dancers are that they interpret concepts and use symbols. They tell stories. They rehearse. They perform. And they always use their bodies individually, or they perform in groups. And again, they always use their bodies. And as I was just talking about earlier with what we do in our daily dances, these are things that I argue all of us can and do on a daily basis. We're all capable of these actions. They become our daily dances, and they can be as simple as sitting or standing. But why do we fear identifying as dancers? There seems to be an expectation that one has to be an expert or trained in dance to identify as a dancer. There also exist social perceptions and assumptions that dance is only appropriate on the stage or on the dance floor and not on the street, in classrooms, or in our offices. But why is that? From the dawn of time, people have been dancing for social, spiritual, and cultural reasons. And yet, historically, dance has been seen as dangerous because you have to move your body in order to dance. And that's been seen as dirty or hypersexualized. Dance has even been accused of being too feminine, too racialized, and not intellectual. Governments and religions across the globe and throughout time have actually banned dances for fear that promiscuity or social chaos would ensue. Even today, some people have those fears. But when you think about it, it does seem strange that we fear our capacity as humans to make art and communicate using our bodies. Because it's our bodies that are our most accessible means of communicating our ideas and our feelings. Furthermore, any purposeful sequences of movement and stillness that communicate meaning, any kinds of meaning, only become dance in the way we interpret them. They become dance when we pay attention to them, when we look for the beauty in them, or the lack of beauty, for the way that they make us feel, or for when we judge them to have worth or be effective. Think about all the ways that we as humans can move. Walking, for example. Is walking a dance? Not necessarily. But walking could become a dance if we pay attention to its movements as purposeful, artistic, and meaningful beyond its functional purposes. So, now I ask you, what if we looked at the things that we do in life from an artistic lens in order to help us in life? How might approaching our actions as dance actually empower us? While I argue that all of us are capable of some kind of dance, whether on our own or in assisted ways in our everyday lives, think about all the move and can dance that are more metaphorical. When we communicate our point of view, when we stand up for a friend, when we help someone in need, when we explore someplace new, when we advocate and fight for social justice in our communities. All of these literal and metaphorical dances allow us to do the work of dancers. We interpret concepts and use symbols. We tell stories. Sometimes they require rehearsals. And we perform them either individually or in groups. And these all require us to use our bodies in dress, to be present, to engage in tasks, to think. So why does this matter? As we think of ourselves as independent individuals, as communicators, as collaborators, what if we saw dance as an untapped resource? Something that we could actually use and work on purposefully in life to help us. Okay, will you all do something with me? I hope so. Will you make a dance with me? Awesome. All right, don't worry, we're only gonna do 2 simple gestures. If possible, can you all stand up? Now, if you are unable to stand up, You can make some sort of up gesture with your head or your hands. Okay, great. Sit down, please. Actually, we're going to practice that again because we're going to repeat standing and sitting or that up-down gesture several times. So let's try that again. Everyone stand up. This time, to make it easier, can you sit just on the top of your seat so you don't go all the way back down? Awesome. Great. It might be a little chaotic at first, but eventually we'll get into unison. So now, not yet, but when I tell you, I would like you to stand up or gesture up every time you hear me say a word that has the letter E as an elephant in it. And then I want you to gesture down or sit down the next time you hear me say a word that has the letter E as an elephant in it. You'll work on your spelling skills. I'm going to give you this cue to start, and I'm going to go like this when I want you to stop standing and sitting. Okay? I challenge you to work on how you interpret concepts, seek to express ideas, tell stories, practice in rehearsals before you perform for others, gain confidence performing as individuals, and work on being a collaborator in groups. You might then come to the realization of the huge role you as a moving person play in your everyday life. You then can be confident and successful in your dancing. You might even be moved to action by ideas, or you might move others to action by your ideas. In this sense, I encourage you all to be dancers. And look, you already are. Thank you.